Hi, I want you to meet my grandpa because I think he's pretty awesome. I want to start by showing you his family tree. On his father's side, we have Salomón Aguilar and Otilia Flores. But you may be wondering, why does they have those question marks? Well, that means we don't have lots of information about them because they died when my grandpa's father was very young. They had 3 children, 2 girls and a boy. As you can see, one of the girls have another sign. Well, when they were young, she got lost, but my family don't like to talk about that. The second girl was called Otilia Aguilar, and the boy was called Luis Alberto Aguilar. In my grandpa's mother's side, we have Alberto Parra and Cecilia Costa, who had 2 beautiful girls, Belén Parra and Maria Ana Betulia Parra. She got married with Luis Alberto Aguilar, and they had 3 children, 2 boys and 1 girl. The girl was called Gloria Aguilar. The first boy was called José Daniel Aguilar, and the younger brother was called Alberto Aguilar. As we can see, many of them have already died, but that does not mean they are gonna be forgotten. But how? Well, that's thanks to inheritance. Inheritance is how characteristics are passed from one generation to the next, meaning from parents to the offspring. This includes physical characteristics and diseases. In my grandpa's case, the physical characteristics are his hair and his nose, which he inherited from his mother, and the disease, which is prostate problems, he inherited from his father. This is thanks to the genes. A gene is the basic physical and functional unit of inheritance. Genes are made up of DNA. DNA is the hereditary material in humans, and every cell in a person's body has the same DNA. But what is a cell? A cell is the smallest unit of life, often called building blocks of life. The DNA is located in chromosomes. The chromosome is the organelle who has all of the genetic material of an organism. They are located in the nucleus of the cell. The nucleus is an organelle found in eukaryotic cells. So, for making it simple, genes are what make us alike between our family because we inherit them from our previous generation. As we can see, we are not the same physically between our families. That's because DNA is different in each of us because our genes have different instructions, and that's thanks to variation. Variation is the difference between the individuals within the same species, just as I said before, because of genetics or because of the effect of environmental factors. And lucky for you, I have an excellent example. My grandpa's mother suffered from arthritis, but that was caused because of the environment. And what do I mean because of the environment? Well, she worked at a restaurant and she had to do the dishes and at the same time cook. Those changes in temperature produce difficulties in your articulations, and that's why she suffered from arthritis because she developed it, meaning she was not born with it. And I know everything I said may sound a little bit complex, but once you get it, it's very, very cool because finally you're going to understand where you come from. And believe me, that's very, very important because you're gonna know yourself better. Not because of the physical characteristics, but because things such as your personality has a lot to do with your genes. So I encourage you to find and investigate where do you come from. What I just showed you is my grandpa's backstory, and believe me, I actually get to know him better, and also those specific characteristics that makes him him. Bonjour, je m'appelle Valentina et je vais vous présenter ma famille. Il est mon grand-père. Il s'appelle Daniel et il a 61 ans. Elle est ma grand-mère. Elle s'appelle Elena et elle a 66 ans. Elle est Isabella. Elle est ma sœur et elle a 21 ans. Elle est ma mère. Son nom est Paola et elle a 43 ans. Les descriptions de ma famille en français. Il est mon grand-père. Son prénom est Daniel. C'est un homme adulte. Il a les cheveux roux et peau noire et blanc. Son visage est ovale. Il a les yeux assez petits et marrons avec des sourcils gris. Ses oreilles sont petites, mais son nez est rond et arquilé. Sa couleur de peau est mate. Mon grand-père a des taches de rougeur. Il est de taches homogènes et sa corpulence est mince. De plus, Daniel porte une écharpe grise, un blouson bleu et jaune moustache, avec une veste foncée. De plus, Daniel porte un pantalon kaki avec des baskets grises. Il porte aussi des lunettes de soleil. Mon grand-père est très sympathique, généreux et courageux. Il adore la musique qui vient de l'Espagne et du Cuba. Elle est ma mère. Elle s'appelle Paola. C'est une femme de 33 ans. Elle a les cheveux courts, bruns et lissés, avec quelques teintes blancs à aussi. Ses sourcils sont épais. Le visage est demi-ovale. Paola n'a pas de sourcils bien définis. Et ses yeux sont petits, couleur noisette. Ses oreilles sont assez petites, mais son nez est long. Ma mère a une petite bouche avec de lèvres fines. La couleur de peau est mate. Paola est mince et de taille homogène. Ma mère porte une chemise à rayures blancs et bleus, avec un short en jean. De plus, elle porte des baskets roses avec noir. Comme accessoire, Paola porte une montre rouge, un collier, des boucles d'oreilles et des lunettes de soleil. Elle est une personne très généreuse, belle et adorable. Ma mère aime jouer et regarder la télévision avec moi. Ma soeur s'appelle Isabella. C'est une jeune femme. Elle a 21 ans. Elle a les cheveux longs et lissés. Son visage est ovale. Elle a des sourcils peu dessinés avec des yeux marrons et ronds. Ses oreilles sont assez petites et son nez aussi. Elle a une grande bouche avec des lèvres épais et un beau sourire. Sa couleur de peau est mate. Ma sœur est de taches homogènes. Isabella porte un blouson à rayures de différentes couleurs, avec une veste de couleur dorée. De plus, elle porte un pantalon noir avec des baskets noires avec une bande blanche. Elle porte aussi des lunettes de soleil. Elle est très ordonnée et très serviable. Elle adore l'enfant et elle aime danser. Voici ma famille. Merci pour votre attention. Au revoir. Now it's time for you to know a little bit more about my grandfather. He was born in Chiquinquirá, Boyacá on December the 21st, 1940. Parents were Luis Alberto Aguilar, who works in a pharmacy rancher, and his mother, Ana Maria Betulia, who worked at a restaurant. He was the second child out of 3. He had an older sister called Gloria Aguilar and a younger brother called Alberto. We can say his childhood was not difficult because they had the necessary things they needed, but that did not mean the abundance of resources. He always talks about his most precious memory about his childhood. That was his very first toy. It was a truck which had a string to pull it and make it move. His aunt Otilia, his father's sister, gave it to him when he was 7 years old. In 1948, Daniel and his family had to move from Boyacá to Bogotá due to the violence their town had suffered. In Bogotá, he started middle school in 1957 at the Salesiano de León 13th. It was a school based on European education. His teachers were Germans and Italians who knew lots of things and knew a lot about education. A chapter of his life was very important to him because he says, "Thanks to the formation I received, I am who I am now." The Salesiano school didn't just teach him subjects. They instilled in him values, principles, sports, and discipline, which made a big part of his future. He finished school in 1962. In 1963, Daniel started working at a pharmaceutical lab called OFSFA, which means Organización Farmacéutica Americana. And at the same time, he studied at night, so he had to balance between work and studies. He worked there for 20 years. Unfortunately, in 1965, he had to quit his studies to dedicate himself to work. His whole life, he had worked in pharmaceutical labs. He worked at Laboratorios Bussier for 8 years. Then he worked in Chemical as the sales manager for 4 years. After that, he worked in Laboratorios Genfar as the regional manager for 8 years. Finally, he worked at Laboratorios Carlón as the sales manager for 16 years. He had worked for 56 years without any break. The only break he had was between Laboratorios Genfar and Laboratorios Carlón. It was only for 15 days, until he found a job in Laboratorios Carlón. He retired in 2012 at the age of 71, but he stopped working in 2018. On December 20th, 1975, he got married with a young woman called Elena del Socorro Santos. Their first child was a girl, who was born on October 24th, 1976. They called her Paula Elena. Their second child was born on February 4th, 1978. He was called Daniel. Finally, their child was born on December 26th, 1988. She was called Juliana Andrea. On January 18th, 1999, his first granddaughter was born. She was called Isabela. She is Paola's first daughter. On February 2nd, 2005, his second granddaughter and Paola's second daughter was born. She was called Valentina. In 1994, Daniel's mother passed away. She suffered from arthritis because of the fact she worked at a restaurant, meaning she had to do the dishes and at the same time cook. Those changes of temperature produce difficulties in your articulations, and that's what caused the arthritis. In 1999, Daniel's father, Luis Alberto, passed away. At the time, Luis Alberto was 99 years old. Daniel, throughout his life, he had several surgeries. The first one was in 1976. Daniel had a maxillofacial surgery, a surgery that solves functional and aesthetic problems caused by deformities of the facial skeleton that cause incorrect position and contact between the teeth. Then, on December 31st, 1992, New Year's Eve, he fell from the ceiling of the house, leading to a femur fracture. He needed a surgical procedure to fix the fracture. First, the bone fracture. The bone fragments are first reduced into their normal alignment, and they are held together with these special implants called plates. Finally, on 2013, Daniel had a prostate surgery to remove a tumor. In 2015, Daniel was diagnosed with mantle cell lymphoma. It is a tumor of the lymphatic system, which is the one in charge to transport lymph through the tissues. It is due to the disordered accumulation of B cells that are transformed into malignant cells. This cancer was treated in the Hospital Universitario Fundación Santa Fe, Bogotá. In 2016, they put a catheter to start the treatment for the lymphoma. In this case, the treatment was chemotherapy. In 2018, he was diagnosed with multiple myeloma. It is a type of cancer that forms in a type of white blood cells called the plasma cell. Plasma cells help you fight infections by making antibodies that recognize and attack germs. Multiple myeloma causes cancer cells to accumulate in the bone marrow, where they crowd out healthy blood cells. This cancer hasn't been treated because of the fact that it's more dangerous to treat it than leave it the way it is. On December 14, 2019, Daniel visited Europe for the first time. He was actually very excited about it. And also he was very happy because he was going to travel with his whole family. Their first stop was Madrid, in Spain. There, he visited the Santiago Bernabéu Stadium. He took lots of pictures because he's a huge fan of them. He and his family got on a plane from Madrid to Rome. There, they went to the Fontana di Trevi, and also they took lots of pictures. After that, he, his wife, her daughter Paola, and his 2 granddaughters got on a cruise ship called Norwegian Spirit. It sailed from Civitavecchia, located in Rome. Stops were Dubrovnik, Kotor, Messina, Naples, and Florence, but unfortunately they couldn't go there because of the bad weather. The captain decided it was safer to stay in the Civitavecchia port, and that's what they did. And they got on a plane to Barcelona to spend Christmas there. December 25th, they got on the AVE train to Madrid faster and get on the plane back to Bogota. On March of 2020, because of the coronavirus, Daniel has to stay at home with his family and his 2 dogs because of the fact the president decreed mandatory quarantine to prevent the number of infected people to increase. He goes outside 2 times per day to walk our dogs. 3 or 4 times a week, his family makes themed dinners like pizza night with Italian music, fondue night with French music, and that kind of things to make the quarantine a little bit more fun. He and his family are very happy right now, despite the rough time they are going through. I really hope you like this and get to know my favorite person in the whole world a little bit more, because although he has gone through a lot of things like diseases and that kind of stuff, he is very brave and I love him with all my heart.